Hello, I'm Felipe Magalhaes. I'm an assistant professor at the Department of Geography in the Federal University of Minas Gerais in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. This is the Antipode video abstract for the paper Popular Economies in, Against, and Through the Platform. This article comes from a research project that I've been conducting in the Belo Horizonte metropolitan area concerning networks of solidarity economies and their interactions with popular economies and with new technologies of information and communications. It is also connected to a previous research project that I conducted in the same region beginning in 2012, related to a new cycle of social movements working on urban issues, mainly housing and housing squats, and their interactions with neoliberal modes of urban regulation. And this round of activism culminated in the election of some activists to legislative positions in the city council and the state and federal levels. The violent repression of street vendors by the city of Belo Horizonte that drove me to write this article ended up in the involvement of the street vendors with some of the same activist groups that I had been in contact. And that drove me to open a specific portion of the larger research project on this specific issue. So the paper is based on a set of in-depth interviews with three different groups of agents that interact in this story. The street vendors who have been resisting an attempt of the city to drive them out of the streets of downtown Belo Horizonte, the activists who have been supporting them, and the city planners that are directly connected to the eviction orders inside the city hall. Brazilian metropolitan areas have been severely hit by the country's economic and political crisis since 2015. Some of the most significant effects of unemployment, rising poverty and inequality levels, homelessness and violence have unfolded in cities. In this urban conjuncture, the number of street vendors attempting to work in city centers has grown intensely, reenacting an urban dynamic of popular strategies arising from the economic crisis of the 1980s and 90s. Against this background, cities have also witnessed the emergence and rapid growth of a new economic agent, platform capitalism, and its new ways of connecting capital and urban labor. Through mobile phone apps like Uber, informal work arranged through digital platforms has grown exponentially in recent years. Both street vendors and platforms depend on harnessing the economic effects produced by density. However, there is a strong contrast between these two groups of informal economic agents. While street vendors are violently repressed by local governments, informal gig work on platforms grows freely and exponentially. In other words, the regulation of urban space by prohibiting autonomous informal economic subjects and allowing the same people to work informally for platforms controlled by capital creates barriers for the poor and openings for investors. The interviews with street vendors were very revealing of many different aspects concerning urban work, their relations with the formal job market, the state management of labor supply, and the pattern of urbanization connected to a large pool of low-wage workers that still constitute one of the main features of Latin American cities. They also connect with critical perspectives on the political making of markets and how the free market is politically constituted through the management of spatial relations. The research revealed how understanding popular economies in their own terms is very important in order to approach Southern urban political economies in their full extent and complexity. The city planners speak from a history of attempting to reform and renew public spaces in the city center after the long crisis of the 1980s and 90s. And this involved a previous process of removing street vendors from the same areas in 2004. However, in a macroeconomic setting that went in the opposite direction, in the beginning of a cycle of growth, falling unemployment and rising wages, even for those in the base of the labor market pyramid. The actions of the city in attempting to remove the street vendors are not directly related to the rise of the platform economy, but by directly interfering in a political economy of who gets to harness the benefits of urban density, they end up benefiting gig work and the capitals that are invested in its growth, while also helping increase the potential land rent in the areas from which the popular economic agents are removed, hence benefiting real estate and the financial circuits that stand behind it. I also propose that the encounters of popular economies with platforms involve an important yet unexplored potential for the constitution of other economic circuits based on reciprocity and mutual aid through new experiments in platform cooperativism that could also be part of the political work of social movements engaged in this cause. After this paper, the big project turned towards a closer look at the solidarity economy groups and their interaction with the current economic and political conjuncture in Brazil, and also to an attempt to start a new extension project, which is a university reach out program on platform cooperativism with the same groups who have been so generously helping us in our research efforts. Thank you for your interest, and please feel free to get in touch. My email is on the paper itself.